On this episode, we talk about Roman Reigns continuing to act like a bad guy, Gallows and Anderson helping AJ Styles, the Vaudevillains, Apollo Crews, and more now on Byte That. Hey gang, what is going on? Welcome to episode 139 of Byte That's weekly wrestling podcast, a place where we talk about that which is the squared circle. Now, which one? It is about the WWE, so thank you for tuning in and checking out the show. We are available every single Tuesday night after Monday Night Raw, after pay-per-views. You get this experience on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, ByteThat.com, YouTube.com/ByteThatCast, and we have a new member to the family. We are now actually available on the Google Play Music Store. So if you're subscribed to that service, you can actually consume and enjoy the podcast in that platform. And if you want to send us an email, questions for the show or suggestions for topics for the YouTube channel, ByteThatCast@gmail.com. Your suggestions are awesomely appreciated. My name is Vaudevillains. I am from San Juan, Puerto Rico, and joining me as always, Keith Poshik from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, and Ryan Savage McNulty from Boston, Mass. Guys, how are you?
Now, hold on. I know we usually shoot the breeze here, but one, I have questions that seriously need answers, and I believe you can help me here.
I hope so.
The Fountain of Youth, is it really in Puerto Rico? I need to know.
Apparently so. I mean, if we base things on what are happening with Raw, WWE seems to be wanting to help the Puerto Rico economy.
I'm getting to that point in my life where I need a drink or two of that fountain. So if you're hiding this from me, I'm gonna be real bummed out.
Well, you could have come down here, but unfortunately didn't happen.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
But I got
to. There, maybe. Ryan, did you drink from the Fountain of Youth?
I did not. I don't even think I went anywhere near any body of water. Well, we got kind of close to the
island.
Ocean. Yeah.
Well, he did get in your body. He did hang out with Chispy for a little while, but that's simply just another story that is best not told. But everybody remember, we recorded the podcast the Tuesday after Monday Night Raw, where for the past couple of weeks, the primary story, well, there's really been two of them. On one hand, we have Shane McMahon, who, after WrestleMania, was the Raw GM for one night, and then the next night. And now at this point, they don't even really state why. It's just like Shane McMahon is there.
Shane's here. Surprise.
And then the other story is Roman Reigns. So the whole time he's progressively becoming more of not a bad guy, not a good guy, not the guy, but I would say that on this episode of Raw, he did start to sort of sound like a bad guy. And I'm honestly a little bit happy that is happening, but I want to take it back to the first topic and your overall impressions. Shane McMahon was in charge of Raw. Let's not, think too deeply. Let's say hypothetically he was back in there and wrote the script for the entire show. What did you think of Raw?
There's always this perception, because Raw this week was taped in advance, but there's always that perception that, they're just kind of going to kind of phone this episode in just because it's pre-taped. But I was pleasantly surprised about this week. They're on a streak of really good Raws, whether it be the whole Shane McMahon thing or whatever you want to chalk it up to. But I really enjoyed this week. I'm starting to find more and more that I just can't hang for the third hour. It's just everything kind of falls apart in that third hour. I feel that more and more each week. But overall, I'd still say it's a good episode.
This Raw definitely was the weakest of the three since the post-WrestleMania kind of Raws have begun. This one was definitely harder to get through. We could chalk it up to it being pre-taped and help with that. I still like Shane being in charge. I don't know if we're jumping fully into that right now, but I'm just going to say that, Shane in this authority role, some of these segments start to fall a little flat, to be honest. Like the whole Ambrose Asylum to start the show. It just seems like...
Do you mean from like Shane in the authority role that they fall flat?
Or just Shane during the promos. Like, obviously the booking decisions, I mean, that's just whatever, that's the writing team. It's not really Shane. But his backstage segments are fine, but like out in the ring promos, if they go a little long, like he seemed to kind of be fumbling over his words a bit. And that opening
Do you
segment,
mean like when he mentioned like the world heavyweight championship?
I think that segment was a little awkward, and I don't know what it was, but maybe it just wasn't organized properly. But that whole opening segment did just kind of, it was weird because I appreciated the jokes that Ambrose was saying, but I feel like that maybe this isn't why subtlety is the thing in wrestling, because he had these nice little subtle jokes, but they were just kind of awkward.
Now, I'm actually curious here because, Keith, you're talking about, 3 weeks in a row. It's been a pretty good Raw. Overall, I agree. I do think, like Ryan said, it's the weaker one of the three, but I don't think it was a bad.
I wouldn't call it a bad show, though.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't a bad show. It wasn't a great show. It was an okay
It wasn't
show.
the show, though.
Yeah, not the show. What would you say was your favorite part of Raw, Ryan? Because you're talking about Shane, but anything outstanding or that really stood out for you?
Without going into too much detail, I think it's basically the story they're telling in the AJ Styles Roman Reigns match.
Okay.
The Gallows and Anderson, what they're doing. That kind of it created some intrigue into that. Besides it just being these two guys fighting each other.
This is a tough podcast episode because if you look at the majority of things that happened, it's really hard not to fantasy book because, for example, with Shane, he's been there for 3 weeks now. The Authority's nowhere to be seen. Triple H is apparently wrestling in some the European tour that ended recently. But then it's like, so how long until they show up? And then, as you mentioned, the whole development with AJ Styles, the three of us were sort of exchanging messages during Raw. Like, is that all they're going to do? Like the buddy-buddy thing with AJ, Gallows, and Anderson? Gladly, that did unfold into something else, but so many unanswered things is why I think I enjoyed the episode, because the whole show is still setting up something that's going to happen. I would actually like to know, everybody listening, given the original feedback that we had when last week we had Gallows and Anderson making their debut, everybody was all disappointed. How dare you spend the time with the Usos when they could have taken over the main event or something? We saw the Usos being taken out. Now we see Reigns being taken out by, we don't really have a name, just Anderson and Gallows. Sounds like a long thing to say, but what do you guys think about this? Like, what is your interest level with AJ Styles, Anderson, and Gallows without really fantasy booking, without really thinking too far ahead? Did you enjoy the two segments, the specific segments that we got with them on Raw?
I enjoyed them, but from the way of looking ahead, like on their own, they were all right. But you can kind of see, like, okay, where are they going to go in the future with this? I personally think, even though I'm totally going into fantasy booking here, is that they're it's going to be a wrestling swerve where they cost AJ the title at Payback, at WWE Payback, I should say.
Thank you.
And it kind of got the wheels turning in my head, and that's what I enjoyed most about it.
Yeah, the first segment, without the context of the second segment, I was bullshit about it. I was like, what are you guys doing? These are these mysterious guys that come in, they beat the hell out of the Usos, and now they just show up all buddy-buddy with AJ. And then you kind of saw the big picture by the end of Raw, which was, we're going to establish these guys as friends with AJ, but they're kind of doing heel-like things. And then, obviously, by the end of the night, you see, okay, yeah, they are AJ's boys, but they're not exactly doing what AJ would want them to be doing. So AJ's kind of like reluctant to be associating himself with these guys by the end of Raw. So we're going to see where this leads. It creates a lot of intrigue, and Keith has a pretty good idea of where things are going, so I'm not going to just reiterate what he said, because that is a definite possibility, though.
Ryan, you might say that when it comes to AJ's morals, Gallows and Anderson, they don't want none.
Oh, I'll give you like a C for effort for that. But
all right,
what I want to contribute to this is that AJ Styles, the way he's been booked right now, I think has been great, because from day one, people were very skeptical about that. But now is around the time where usually if somebody's not a mega success everybody just starts saying, oh, WWE's going to end that push. WWE's not going to get that guy any further. And now you introduce these two guys into the mix, and there's a layer of controversy. There's a layer of uncertainty where is AJ Styles really with them or not? Like, is he playing into the whole thing just so that when we get to Payback, they actually do help him out and he becomes champion? Or if not, then who is it? Who is that third man? Is it Finn Balor? Is it Roman Reigns, for that matter? So many things can play into this, and I'm really, really enjoying that because I think that AJ Styles' strength is definitely not on the microphone, as I've said multiple times. It just seems like he always tries to really hard not to fumble, but this helps. He can be more himself. He can be one of the boys with Anderson and Gallows. So I'm hoping that they keep doing this. And Payback as the main event match, I'm looking forward to the match, and I'm looking forward to the story, and obviously something's got to happen. Like, the way this is happening, Payback is going to be a can't-miss show, so I'm really, really excited about that. Now, I know that we have seen a little bit of Luke Gallows previously. You know, he was Festus, he was a bunch of things, but what has been your minimal impression with Anderson and Gallows? The fact that they have, you know, just a t-shirt. They're not coming out all branded like crazy, but they're giving that sort of that uncertainty, as I mentioned earlier.
I love it. I think it adds to the whole tough guy look that they're pulling off in spades, and yeah, it's great.
It's a bit weird because they're kind of not fully committed one way or the other. Because it's like, yeah, they're not in gear and all that, but they're still showing up in backstage segments. And Cole is like, oh, you know, Gallows and Anderson are here, but they're not like wrestlers. So it's like, they're not kind of these guys that are just jumping the barricade, beating the crap out of someone. Like, they're not really a part of the company. It's like they're a part of the company, but not a part of the company.
That is true. And I guess there's that weird disconnect that basically only happens in wrestling, where two guys will come in street clothes and do like a gang beatdown, but they'll do it with wrestling moves.
Yeah. So that's what I mean, where they're kind of half and half with it. So we don't even know if they're truly on the active roster yet. But I imagine it won't be too long before we see them in an actual match.
One thing, last week I did make the comparisons with the Bullet Club and NWO, and I may get some backlash out of this. I would say that this is even more NWO than the Bullet Club, or at least in some way, shape, or form, because of everything that we just mentioned. Much like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, they just showed up. Are they part of WCW, or are they going to get a name change, or are they going to use their real names? Who are they aligned with? None of those questions were answered immediately, and we're getting the same thing here. And the subtopic I want to get to is how crazy, or I guess the better way is, for everything that the people have complained about WWE acting like the number one company in the world, two, and I don't know if you guys have thought about this, two of the top storylines are about things that happen outside of the WWE. Here we have AJ Styles, Anderson, and Gallows openly referencing their past in another company, not just Japan, but saying New Japan. And on the other hand, you have Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn talking about the fact that this is not a new rivalry. You know, that Sami has been riding Kevin Owens' coattail for over a decade. Crazy how it went from nothing matters until you're in the WWE to not only do you matter, and not only does what you do before WWE matter, the story is about what happened before WWE. And now that it's here, is it a matter of, is it going to stick around? How do you guys feel about that, considering that's rarely have ever been done in like the past decade or so?
I can look at it two ways. One, they're just getting lazier and want ways to tell stories without having to come up with new things. And two, you can also look at it as fans are smarter now and they know more about the history of wrestling. They know what's going on. Twitter, all that, it's all there. Anytime a new guy comes out and, you know, joins the roster, people kind of do their research and kind of figure out a lot of the history where these guys came from. So I think it's just to not insult most of the people that watch.
Exactly. And plus, you're bringing these guys into the company and immediately shooting them to the top. You kind of have to establish like, hey, this isn't just a Joe Schmo. Like, think about the person that doesn't check all of that out on the internet. Like, hey, this is why you should like that guy. They've been doing this. This is why these two guys hate each other. They've been hating each other for over 10 years. But kind of to that point, they are doing it in a way of a little bit of because it's convenient for the WWE. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't they completely ignoring the fact that like Anderson and Gallows kind of kicked AJ out of the Bullet Club, or they were part of the people that just beat AJ down really badly?
There's always going to be some kind of revisionist history, because by that account, why aren't they just openly referencing Finn Balor, which is another thing. Finn was openly referencing, I can't wait for these guys to show up. They show up, and he completely stops referencing them. So maybe that's another key element to the story. Maybe they went for a plan B. Regardless, I'm really happy about that.
But if they expect people like to know all that stuff, if they think that people are looking that up, aren't they looking all of it up then?
Maybe that's the intrigue. I don't know if you guys saw, but they even posted a video on Facebook and then YouTube openly talking about them. Bullet Club showing pictures that featured the Young Bucks, and it's like it's there. Maybe it's not on the main show, but they're openly bringing up even the word Bullet Club, because so many people were saying, "Oh, it's a PG show, so it's going to be the Water Gun Club." No, they're talking about that. Maybe that's not going to be the name.
The Water Gun Club.
It comes down to though that they're going to acknowledge what's convenient and works for them. If they want to tell this story, they're only going to mention so much of what happened in the past so that it works for the story.
I'm looking forward to, I guess, not the conclusion, but just what's going to happen with the story, because we could be seeing some kind of hostile takeover. Fight Night could be trickling a little bit over to Monday Night Raw, Michael. Now, the next topic I want to get to here is Roman Reigns, because, as I mentioned, he is showing strides of somewhat of a bad guy. So now that we got all of the AJ Styles, all of that conversation out of the way, Roman Reigns, WWE knew he was going to be booed. He knew he was going to be booed. And everybody else backstage, because when he came out there, he acted like a bad guy. All the way from the top of the ramp, he stands there, stays still for a little bit, holds the championship up. They know that's going to cause even more booing. The way he talked, the way he downplayed AJ Styles again, the cocky, the arrogance that he had. I kind of liked it. I'll be honest. And if they keep doing this, it's not, because I know you're going to say this, Keith. This is not exactly the Roman Reigns that people wanted, which is just like the absolute badass. But maybe we're seeing a different side that we've never seen before.
No, and I agree with you, actually, and I like this Roman Reigns. I think it's a really good direction that they're going, and it's almost the opposite of, it's very easy to compare Roman and John Cena, right? And it's almost the opposite of what they did with John Cena all those years ago, where John Cena kept doing John Cena despite of what the fans thought. They're actually kind of leaning into it with Roman, like, hey, you're gonna boo me, so okay, bring on the boos. You know what? It doesn't matter. I'm still the top guy. Boo all you want.
He's the modern heel, because it's like we've mentioned with anybody. Forget about Roman Reigns. If you turn into a bad guy, people cheer you. That tends to be the trend for a lot of places. If you turn into a good guy, with the exception of New Day, people will boo you.
What happens if you turn to the guy? Sorry, it's the easy joke.
No, that is the exact same. This is the modern day bad guy. You don't like me? I'm going to shove it down your throat that you don't like me for this reason. I'm still going to be the champion. And the thing is, they actually have a good protagonist, because they have guys like AJ Styles. They have good guys that you actually want them to take the championship off of Roman Reigns. So is it a bad thing? I really don't think so, because even if you don't care about Reigns, you're guaranteed to at least get a really good crowd interaction during that match.
Yeah, I think the formula for creating the biggest heel in the company is to try and make the biggest babyface in the company, because that's what people hate the most. Like Roman Reigns, he's still not fully heel. He definitely shows signs of being a heel, but he also he says some babyface like things like acknowledging and respecting all of the baby faces and things like that. But they're dialing it right in the middle. And like he's getting nuclear heat. Like the crowd was booing the hell out of him. And they don't get that with anybody else. So really, it's people will start to pay just to see Roman Reigns get his ass whooped. So they have something here with this, and I think they're running with it.
Yeah, you just said it. People are going to go to that arena for the same thing, like let's go Cena sucks chance just to boo him. But hey, you paid the ticket.
Let's put it this way. People have had this backlash pretty early in Roman Reigns' career that it's not like a Cena situation where there's still a dedicated legion of people that support Cena. Like, there's not nearly as much risk turning Roman Reigns heel as there would be for John Cena. So it's really the perfect time to do it and just go along with it, because I feel like this is going to work out really well.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say here is that why is he getting so booed, like so hard, booed so hard? Said that a little weird, but it's because, as you mentioned, for any moment that he sounds like a bad guy, he'll sprinkle in something that a good guy would say. And that annoys people because it's like, are you a good guy or a bad guy? Make up your mind. Oh, I'm the guy. We get it. That's your catchphrase. Shut up. All of a sudden, you're reacting to every single word the man is saying. At the end of the day, isn't that what being a wrestler is all about? On the mic? I think so.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, before we keep talking about Monday Night Raw, we want to get to a couple of announcements, but the first one is actually not about us at all. We want to give a shout out to a special event that is going to be happening this weekend that for any wrestling fans that love those wrestling games all the way from the Super Nintendo to the PS4 and you want to support a charity, check out WrestleThon. That is WrestleThon.com. Beginning April 22nd. That is this Friday all the way to the 24th. On Sunday, it is a 48-hour, not a 24, a 48-hour wrestling video game marathon in support of Child's Play charity. So you get to help children, you get to make your donations, and they have so many wrestling video games that I can't name all of them, but I'm just gonna throw some out there for some context. So we're saying WWF Raw for the Super Nintendo, Superstars 2 for the Game Boy, all the Day of Reckonings, WrestleMania 18 for GameCube, pretty much all of the Nintendo 64 games, WCW, NW Revenge, a ton, if not all of the PS1 wrestling games, all the way to WWE Crush Hour on PS2, the TNA Impact video game, WWE Raw 2 for the Xbox, WWE 2K14, 13, 12, 2K16, 2K15. It's going to be crazy. Make sure to follow them on Twitch as well. That is twitch.tv/WrestleThon. I'm probably going to be hanging around there for a couple hours.
I'll be checking it out, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they actually have raffles also, so if you donate, I believe it's a minimum of $5, and the longer you're on the stream, the more things you can qualify for. This is, I believe, the third year they are doing this, and some of the sponsors, this has become pretty big, are Jerky XP, Funko, so Funko Pops, you know who they are, Wicked Cool Toys, WCW Worldwide, Wrestle Crate, which anybody that's subscribed to our channel, you know I love that. And WWE2K is actually a sponsor. So support WrestleThon 3 happening this weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. This is going to be the first one I actually watch. What do you guys think of this? 48 hours of wrestling games.
That's really cool.
It's a hell of a feat. It's very cool. I don't know if I could do it personally, but it's for a good cause, and so be it.
Yeah, actually, I used to watch a thing called Zeldathon. That was a very similar thing where they would stream them playing, all the Legend of Zelda games. And that was really cool. It's cool to see. I didn't even know that this was going on. This is the third year. I'm losing my voice.
You're so excited.
I know, I'm so excited. But yeah, no, that's really cool. Third year in wrestling games. It's cool to bring the community together for a good cause.
Exactly. So for all the details, the schedule, they actually have a schedule on the website. Visit WrestleThon.com. Now, if you visit our YouTube channel, which, as we've mentioned, we crossed 5K subscribers. Thank you for the love, sharing, and getting the word out about everything that it is we do. This Friday, we have a brand new episode of Fight Night. Things are getting pretty bad. We went back in time, Ryan. We made it. Keith made us go there. And now,
damn right,
it is tag team time. Rex and Sex, Class and Ass, battle the Gathering for the future of Fight Night. We have a lot of people that we know. You've been shy to check out Fight Night because you hear us talk about this nonstop. Please stop. All that we ask is give it one watch, and we guarantee that you'll be hooked like phonics. Wow, that sounded way worse in my head, and it sounded even worse when I said it. And we actually have some
nice
more
one,
videos.
nice one.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we've taken a lot of your advices over at the 5K subscriber video. We looked at the comments, so you are going to be seeing some videos related to Supercard, some more discussion videos happening very soon, so be on the lookout for that. Guys, wanted to bring back This Week in WWE History because on April 16th, 2007, the Milan Miracle happened. WWE Raw held from Milan, Italy, where
so apparently this is like a big Europe tour.
Yeah,
week.
right?
Yeah, they always do. Like, it's always a couple Raws after WrestleMania. They always have, like, the UK Raw. And I don't know if they do Italy every year for a Raw, but they always have the European tour shortly after WrestleMania.
Yeah, but on this episode, we had Santino challenging Umaga for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, keep in mind, Santino was supposed to just be a fan on the crowd. He was signaled out, received this championship opportunity. Now, during the match, Bobby Lashley comes in, interferes. The referee doesn't catch it.
With Bobby Lindsay.
No, or Bork Laser for that matter. Then crazy names be out there. The Milan Miracle happened. He became the IC champion. Then he became a member of the Raw roster. Beth Phoenix, Maria, Santina Marella, crazy career, almost becoming world champion at one point. But I want to get your feedback about this very episode of Raw, that Milan Miracle moment. What did you think when they put this fan, quote unquote, into the match, and eventually he beat Umaga, who rest in peace, great talent, super awesome, super heavyweight. What'd you think of the moment?
You know, I really loved this debut. It's probably honestly one of my favorite all time, just because of how out of nowhere it was. Nobody, I guess maybe you could see it coming if you knew about Santino, but it's just, hey, here's a fan. Vince McMahon's going to say something like, Umaga can beat anybody. He can beat you. Okay. And then, boom, you just won the IC title on your debut. It was a very cool debut, and all in all, Santino had a really good career, I would say. So it was a very cool start to his career.
Yeah, I remember watching this moment, and it was definitely very unexpected because you've seen things.
And Umaga was on fire at that point.
Yeah, and you had seen similar things like in around that time, like the Master Lock Challenge, where they would have people from the crowd. So you totally expected it to be like a plant in the crowd and you get squashed. But no, they actually had somebody win one time, which was a really creative way to debut someone. And I don't think they really knew what to do with Santino at first, but then he really found his role as that, that comedy-based character, and he made a hell of a career out of it. And like you said, Juan, there was that amazing moment where if he had won the championship, would have been like the most over guy ever for that night,
Santino, crazy career. Now, due to injury, he did have to close out, but I know he's still involved with WWE. He has a wrestling school also.
Him and Vladimir Kozlov, baby. Tag team of all time. Oh, my
God, right. Man, the guy was in everything at some point, Santino
Exactly.
was.
If you haven't seen it, go look up the tea party between Vladimir Kozlov and Santino. It's one of the greatest segments.
Shut up in your face, son of my gun.
I think Sheamus was involved as well. But anyway.
It would not surprise me. Now I want to give a couple of seconds to talk about the Miz, Maurice, Cesaro, this segment, because as we brought up last week, Cesaro has probably the best entrance, still the worst theme, but awesome entrance with the whole 007 thing at the beginning. The Miz and Maurice, I think that, man, they really are the new power couple. I think that it's nice that the power couple is not the authority. It's not somebody all the way up there, but that it's somebody that they're just part of the show, with the IC title. What did you guys think of this segment? And the real key question is, what do you think about Cesaro now that he's being warmed up into this new, basically, Jason Statham is his gimmick?
Yeah, it's weird because he has the Bond entrance, but he's more like the Transporter or Jason Statham. I hope they got the new Minitron and stuff. Give him a new theme. Can we get a new
last
theme?
step? Oh my god!
I
the
hope
funny
they're
part about
working
this-
on it. I feel like they have to be.
They don't even have to make a new theme. Remember his old theme, the Dean Malenko type one? That was like a knockoff of the James
You mean
Bond
the like
theme.
sell me a hot dog, I bought a chair style theme?
What? Are you just trying to... I don't even know what that means. All right.
Cesaro's first theme, it's that like dun, dun, then the guy says like sell me a hot dog.
No. Like, wait, was it that one?
It was like when it was like during the 5 languages gimmick with
I think I know what theme
Oksana.
you're talking
okay.
about, but I don't know if that's what it sounded
listen
like
to
at
it.
all.
We'll
Go
have to
listen
do some
to it.
research afterwards.
Okay. Anyway, apologies to any Swiss people out there. Anyway, yeah, Cesaro, the theme, please change it. But I do like the entrance and everything. His mic work still leaves a bit to be desired. He was kind of stumbling he was pulling a Shane McMahon out there a little bit. But then when he ripped off his shirt and had the New Day shirt underneath, everybody was back on board and it was great. And as far as Miz and Maurice, I like it. I like her, her segments with the whole like domestic water and stuff as them being just very uppity and all that. And I actually appreciated the whole Taken reenactment thing. Like, I like how they're acknowledging the whole Cesaro being an actor thing. So they're kind of having that played in, like, or the James Bond thing. So they're Hollywoodizing the feud. So I like it.
Exactly. Not a lot. My opinion hasn't changed much since last week. Maurice is great. Cesaro is great. It was a hell of a tag match, that 8-man tag match. 8-man? 8-man, yes. And man, what a great Raw for tag matches, by the way, as a quick side note. That and Enzo and Cass and the Dudley Boys, perfect match as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, no, Cesaro's awesome. Miz is awesome. It's honestly the match I'm probably looking forward to most at Payback.
No, that's going to be a really good match. And Payback's shaping up to be an outstanding show.
WWE Payback.
Oh, sorry. On the WWE Network. They're slowly going back to that level of self-promotion. I mean, and it was happening at WrestleMania, but you think, like, WrestleMania, naturally it's going to happen. But
yeah, I cringe every time they bring up the network during Raw.
That Shane McMahon one was rough. Like, oh, you can watch all the highlight reels on the WWE Network.
Oh my, okay. We need to dedicate at least 2 minutes to that. Like, out of all the things that they've tried to plug, you can't actually go to the network. To my knowledge, you guys let me know if I'm wrong. Not you're wrong. And you can just click on the vault and consume the highlight reel. Am I missing something, or are they just really stretching?
Not all the Raws are on there, right? That Jericho was on? Because that's a lot of Raws. Like, you probably actually can't watch all of the highlight reels on the network.
No, definitely not, because I don't think they have all the Raws from, like, the mid-2000s on there yet. They're just kind of getting into early Ruthless Aggression, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually added all of the Raws from 2002, 2003 now, so that's really nice. I'm slowly going back into watching some of them. I forgot a lot of details about the invasion angle, but before we get sidetracked, let me actually bring up a follow-up topic, because last week we did find out that the Vaudevillains were also going to be moving up from NXT to the main roster. They had a match on SmackDown where they moved up in the tag team tournament, Booty Royale, whatever you want to call it, tournament. They had their match on Raw to a very, very little fanfare. I mean, out of any match that happened on Raw, that was probably the most silent, but I want to get your feedback. Now that you've seen the Vaudevillains on Raw, they're back to their old bad guy theme. They're definitely bad guys now as a whole. Are you happy? What are your thoughts?
I was in the crowd of thinking there is no way that the Vaudevillains will succeed on the main roster. They don't have an Ice Cube's chance in hell. But I was pleasantly surprised when they actually beat the Usos. Like, they're in the finals of the tag tournament. I think that's nuts, but they had a really good performance on Raw. I was very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I don't know what their chances are of just succeeding overall, but I think it helps that they're a heel team, so they don't have to worry about kind of getting the approval. It's just whether or not they're going to continually be built well. I'm very glad they beat the Usos. I actually didn't expect that at all, and I think they would have been dead in the water had they lost this match.
Agreed.
So it's really nice to see, unexpectedly, that the two brand new teams are the ones that are in the finals for the tag tournament, but I think that's the exact way to go. And I think you need the Vaudevillains to win. Next is the match is probably next week, I assume. So
I know it's at WWE Payback.
Yeah, WWE Payback on the WWE Network.
Oh, the finals is on.
Yeah.
Well, not like
Payback.
New Day versus the Vaude.
I mean like Enzo and Cass versus the Vaudevillains is at WWE Payback.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Dudley's need to interfere here so that Vaudevillains can win.
Agreed.
But we will enjoy that match at where, Keith?
At WWE Payback, available on the WWE Network for only $9.99 WWE dollars.
Plus tax, depending on how things are shaping up there. While we are on the topic of NXT superstars, the next one, I think he's similar, where, like, for example, in my case with the Vaudevillains, I'm very lukewarm. I was never in love with what they did in NXT. I appreciated their entrance. Now, this guy's sort of the opposite. I appreciate everything he does in the ring. I'm talking about Apollo Crews. They repackaged a video package that they did for him at NXT, building up sort of his life. I still don't really think he has a character. He's just sort of a good guy. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, or a good thing. It's just the thing happening. I had to just get that out of my system.
It's the easy joke this week.
Yeah, and it'll probably keep being for at least another week, and then we'll hate it. But Apollo Crews, WWE's building him as a top babyface. Already people are saying next world champion. I think that, it's
a little much.
Let's step down a little bit from that. But given what you've seen, the little that you've seen him over at NXT, and the fact that they are building him up, which, by the way, just as a side note, they did the same thing with Neville. I'm just going to throw that out there. Same thing. What are your thoughts?
I'm not a big fan of how they're building Apollo Crews. Like, I'll say that I love him in the ring. I think he's one of the best in-ring performers on the roster. I don't like how they're building him up, but I'm very interested to see where it goes. I want to see if we almost get a Rocky Maivia style turn for Apollo Crews, where everybody just rejects Apollo and how he's just a smiley good guy.
He just starts crying.
And then maybe we get something along the lines of "Die Apollo, die."
Oh my god, Jesus!
But like just that kind of turn on Apollo Crews, where everybody all the fans turn their back on him, and yeah, I'm very curious where it goes.
Yeah, you look at the NXT roster, and you feel like there's just so many other people who are more ready than Apollo Crews is, and it just seems a little weird. And yeah, there's a lot of comparisons to Neville because he really doesn't have a character, but he's got all the in-ring talent and just athletic ability in the world. But you look at him a bit differently than Neville because he's like a Neville that Vince McMahon is willing to push to the top for, stubbornly against everybody else's will, because he's a big guy that is, very talented in the ring. So I like that they had this whole thing with like the social outcasts. And I really feel like they still have an opportunity. Put Apollo Crews, have something happen where he does end up in the social outcast. And it kind of forces him to have some sort of character in that situation, whether like they build to that, because I feel like that is either a missed opportunity if they don't go along with it, or they might be able to continue, because even if he just kind of like joined it and was all friendly with them, but then they all ended up hating him or something like that, you got some chance to kind of show a comedic side to him, or something more.
The combination of smiley Apollo Crews and positive Bo Dallas could be incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe even Apollo Crews is too positive for Bo Dallas. Like, imagine
he
that.
He just makes Bo Dallas turn a corner. Yeah. And he just can't handle it.
There's a lot of potential.
By the way, Bo Dallas at ringside during that match was my favorite thing of the night, where he was just like, "Oh, are you okay, Apollo?" Like, he was kind of cheering on Apollo in the match, even though, social outcast Heath Slater.
And they're down a member for at least 60 days or a little bit less. So, hey, it could happen. Personally, I'm not too thrilled about that being a possibility, but I really don't know where they're going to go with Apollo. I hope they don't go the Neville route where, hey, here's Mr. Good Match of the Week, because that did not work out in the long term for Neville. Maybe when he gets back, he sort of calls out that Apollo Crews is trying to take his spot. We see a little bit of
Apollo Crews versus Neville. Huh.
Exactly. I mean, that is something that could happen almost on a weekly basis, and I think a lot of people maybe wouldn't necessarily complain, right? Okay, so I feel that as a Puerto Rican, I need to at some point speak in Spanish for the next segment, scheduled for one podcast, which is an update on the things happening with Primo and Epico.
Tell me about the Fountain of Youth. I need to know.
No, I was going to start quoting Mark Anthony. I'm not going to do that here. But, yeah, so just for context, they were in Old San Juan. I feel I need to, give some context to what happened there. I actually thought that
was cool because I recognized the area because we went there.
Yeah, exactly. So that was Old San Juan. Ryan, Jamie, a couple of our friends that came down here for my wedding, we went around there. They have some delicious food. That's sort of I'm not going to say tourist trap because it is a really good tourist area, but that is the tourist spot because that is Old San Juan, not just all of San Juan. San Juan is where I live, it's close to San Juan. It's multiple municipalities rolled into one, but that's sort of where everything happened. Fact, there's a fact here. There's actually an episode of Scooby-Doo where they go to Old San Juan because they want to chase a ghost. And almost every Puerto Rican in that episode has a mustache. Says a Puerto Rican with a mustache on the podcast, which doesn't help, but...
And I mean, Primo and Epico, check out, I think.
Do they both have mustaches right now? You're making me second guess that right now. Not sure about.
I think so.
But whatever the case, that's still happening. I really don't know what they're doing.
I need your guys' help trying to wrap my head around this one. So
go for it.
Is their whole stick that they are two people telling you how great Puerto Rico is and that you should come to Puerto Rico, but they're going to leave Puerto Rico to go wrestle?
You just killed their entire character, man. Stop that.
No, but is that not the case, or am I missing something here?
Is this government mandated to WWE to help tourism in Puerto Rico?
Okay, real talk. The Puerto Rico economy is horrible. We are over $70 billion with a B billion dollars in debt. 70 plus billion. Like, I can't stress that enough. So things are going pretty bad here. People are leaving left and right. So maybe this is WWE's way of helping out Carlos Colon and free publicity. WWE may actively save Puerto Rico. So... I don't know what this has to do with Primo and Epico.
I don't think.
Yeah, I think he got a bigger fight to fight.
They should have got Carlito for this one.
There's still a lot of rumors that he wants to go up there. They interview him a lot down here, and obviously he's not speaking openly about that, but is at the same time, I don't know what's going to happen there. But I mean, honestly, I guess as a Puerto Rican, am I looking forward to Primo and Epico in the company? Yes, because they're talented in the ring. Do I actually care about their storylines and the matches that they may have, like, long-term?
Well, they've literally told us nothing. They're just, they're just selling tourism right now.
But historically, they've done nothing with the guys.
What if they just give out travel packages to the people in the front row when they come back?
That would not be bad.
They've given us no indication of what they're actually going to do.
But as I mentioned before, they've never done anything with the guys. Like, Primo and Epico just showed up to the roster. Primo one time just was a singles wrestler. He was in the tag team thing with Carlito. Then they teamed up. Then they had that whole thing with Hunico that lasted a whole 2 weeks because apparently it was a little too ghetto or gangsta for WWE. So they actually had to scratch that. I don't know if you guys listened to the podcast. I believe it was Talk is Jericho. They actually went into detail about that. They had to cut the storyline because apparently it was too real for WWE, and then they did Fernando and Diego. So, not the best track record, but that is something that is happening. So for this one, I won't pass it to Will, but I will pass it to Ryan McNulty, who for about 3 weeks was a resident Total Divas expert. He proceeded to then watch the show, because Total Divas is quite intriguing, but if you
and even
didn't
reported
have enough,
on it. Even reported on it.
And if you didn't get enough Total Divas and John Cena or Daniel Bryan. You're going to get more with Total Bellas. Holla, holla, Ryan. What's going on?
Total Bellas is going to be a spin-off of Total Divas. And at first, a lot of people, when they saw the whole Total Bellas thing, they thought, oh, well, we went from the Divas title to the women's title, so maybe they're rebranding Total Divas. So as far as I know, that's not the case. They're doing its own spin-off show, Total Bellas, that's going to be just about the Bella Twins, Daniel Bryan, and John Cena. They said they were living under the same house or something. I don't think that's actually true. I think it's just about them moving into their respective houses.
Hopefully.
I don't know. If they do like a full house thing, that might actually be kind of awesome. So we'll have to see on that. But that also means that they're still going to do Total Divas. And I was thinking, oh, well, maybe, Nikki and Brie aren't going to be on the show anymore. No, they're going to be on both shows, but they're also going to add Maurice and Renee Young to the Total Divas cast. So the ever-rotating Total Divas cast. So there's going to be even more Total Divas action to watch that I'm sure both of you are going to, be glued to the TV for all of this.
I won't lie. I love Total Divas. I don't watch it actively every week, but I think it's great, especially the little Daniel Bryan and John Cena bites that come out of it. They're my favorite.
Doesn't that seem like the most un-Keith thing Keith has ever said on the podcast?
Yeah.
It's true, though. I mean, I did watch almost all of the first and second season, and it really is you just kind of ignore all the drama, which is 90% of the show.
Straight up, the drama makes me want to shoot myself.
But the other 10%, you get nice little snippets of seeing the wrestlers in situations or just funny things that you don't get to see on WWE TV.
And that's enough to keep going.
I think what they're doing is slowly phasing out Total Divas because, let's be honest, the stars for Total Divas are the Bellas. But if they just randomly change it, it's going to seem obvious hey, we're doing this whole change on the main show, so we're doing the change here. Now they can focus on Total Bellas. That'll start to get better ratings. Then this Total Divas will become secondary. They phase it out, put it up on the WWE Network, and then you get Total Bellas, which honestly it's better because at least they can rotate the cast, but it's about the Bellas as opposed to why is Maurice here now and why is she magically gone?
I mean, the Bellas are basically setting themselves up for life after WWE, which that's already the case for Brie. We know Nikki still wants to wrestle for a little while,
and Cena for that matter.
Yeah, it's true. Although
and
I'm pretty
Bryan.
sure he's got a good acting career when it's all said and done, because I think in the few roles that he's done, he's actually been pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yes.
It really has. And ladies and gentlemen, hopefully we will get at least one Total Bellas report from Mr. Ryan McNulty. We'll try to get the scoop on that.
I still got that music on my hard drive. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, the graphics, all that stuff is done. We just gotta dust it off a little bit, just to put Bellas on there.
We'll see about that one.
Yes. Or watch Lucha Underground. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen,
or NXT.
As always, we always appreciate getting your questions because either they pop up here on the podcast, they become their very own YouTube video. How can you get questions over to us? ByteThatCast@gmail.com. On Twitter, ByteThatCast with the hashtag AskBT. So without further ado, if you're listening on YouTube, you can also drop a comment. Keith, take it away, my friend.
All right, take it away, I shall. And our first question comes from Jared Q, who asks, do you think the WWE should make their own monthly crate, kind of like the Wrestle Crate or the Loot Crate? There's so many crates these days. And what do you think should be in it? Now, Juan, I kind of want to throw this towards you because you get the Wrestle Crate every month.
Yes, and I love it. Actually, so I'm super happy about that. As cool as I think it would be for WWE to have their own crate, me personally, I like the Wrestle Crate because you can get sort of unique things, right? It feels like with WWE, you would get merchandise that you could otherwise get, and it's always going to be limited to maybe the top guys. I'm not sure how that would work, but I'm surprised they haven't done it, considering, you have loot crates, you have comic crates, you have Like, I can probably make up a name, and there's already a crate for it. Mick Foley's in charge of a crate, for that matter. There's a pro wrestling crate, 100 options there. I would love it. What would I like to see? Kind of like I get with the Wrestle Crate. If you get like an expensive one, at least a t-shirt, at least an action figure, or a Funko Pop, something autographed, and just cool stuff, unique stuff. I wouldn't want to get something that I can already get on Amazon, because that's just not fun for me.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think WWE should do it, but they definitely could probably do a pretty successful one. We know they probably have a warehouse full of old toys and stuff that they could bring back as a way of kind of repurposing some of that old kind of collector's stuff. But at the same time, like Juan said, you do kind of miss out on those more outside the box or outside the crate personalized things that you otherwise wouldn't see. Like WWE would be all officially licensed merchandise type of stuff, whereas Wrestle Crate can kind of go outside of those boundaries.
I have a Steve Weiser bottle opener thanks to Wrestle Crate. Just think about that. Unboxing video on the YouTube channel, by the way. We always assume that everybody has seen those, but if you want to get an idea of what the Wrestle Crate is, it's awesome. I highly recommend it. I got a Sid Vicious Elite action figure, which costs like $22, and the crate cost me $36 plus shipping, and I got a shirt and everything, so it's worth it for me. Plus, honestly, it removes the hassle of thinking about what to buy for yourself. Just give me a box. Give me stuff. Leave the thinking out of it.
See, I'm kind of the opposite, where I understand the appeal of the crate, and I totally get why people love it, but personally, I'm not a fan of just accumulating things, and it just seems like, in 6 months I've got all of this wrestling stuff and I don't know what to do with it. So I'm not a big fan of the crates myself in that respect, but I understand why they're awesome and great.
Yeah, I feel like I'd be more likely to get one of the video game ones than wrestling, because I feel like I'm more selective with which wrestling things I'd like to own. But more of the general gaming stuff, I'd be okay with kind of having little random things like that.
Mm-hmm. And as far as a WWE crate goes, I don't particularly think that'd be a good idea, because to me, it just seems like another avenue for the WWE to get scrutinized. Like, you gave me a Iron Sheik figure this month. What the hell? Blah, 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 blah. Anger,
Who would
rage.
complain about that, though?
It was a bad example. You gave me a Coco Beware action figure. Anger,
okay,
rage.
There you go.
A Coco Beware Hall of Fame edition action figure.
Rage. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Allison W., who has another game for us this week. So let's get to her.
Uh-oh.
Guys, see what you can name more of. Wrestler names that start with the letter C, or animals that start with the letter L.
Okay, so how are we doing this? What are we starting with?
All right,
let's start with wrestlers.
Okay.
I'll start first. Chris Candido.
Chris Jericho.
Charlie Haas.
Chase Stevens.
Let's see. Christian.
Carlito.
Chris Masters.
Chris Benoit. Sorry.
Chris Nowinski.
The Chupacabra.
What?
I don't.
Is that a real thing?
Probably not. No, help me.
Let's see.
Christopher Daniels. Oh, geez.
There you go. That's 10 so far.
Isn't Childish Gambito a thing?
That's a rapper, dude. That's like Donald Glover or whatever.
Okay, never mind.
Hold on. There's obviously easy ones like Cameron.
Okay, yeah, Cameron's a good one. Charlotte. Keith, come on.
I don't
can
know.
help you out. Let's see here.
Help me.
Keith, like, when you were born, did they have to give your mother a C-section?
Cesaro.
There we go. I'm not. Did you expect me to answer that? What the hell's wrong with you?
That was a weird ass question, by the way. What about like legends?
And legends, Curtis Axel. Curtis Axel. Curtis.
Curtis Axel. So we're at 14.
We are doing bad. It feels like we should at least get to 20. Colin Cassidy.
Colin Cassidy, 15.
Carlito. Did we say Carlito? Oh, damn it. I felt so good about myself there.
My God.
Did we say Big Cass? Colin Cassidy?
You just said that. Colin Cassidy.
Yeah, I just
Colin
said that.
Delaney.
Colin Delaney, yes.
All right, I think we've hit our limit.
How much being squeezed out? How many? Ryan, you're the one.
I
want to
think of one more.
Okay, people. Like, the anticipation is real. While Ryan thinks about that one, I just want to say that
Crash
we
Holly.
love you.
Crash Holly. There we go.
So
that was 17.
Okay.
Weird number to end it with, but thank you, Allison. We love these games.
No, we gotta do animals. Let's start with
animals.
Oh, wow. Okay, llamas.
Lemurs.
Do bugs count? Well,
All
right.
I'm already done.
Like a locust or whatever.
Sure, we'll go with it.
Gears of War?
What? Okay.
It counts.
I got nothing with an
leopard.
Yeah,
that was the one I had.
Lou Albano.
A lizard. Lizard.
Oh, he was Captain Lou Albano. He could have been.
There you go.
Man. Wow.
All right.
Let's see.
I'm mercy killing this. We're putting an end to it. Thank you for the question, Allison. Our next one comes in from Barnaballs. Balls, who asks, will Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson have proper ring gear, or will they just keep wearing shirt and jeans when they wrestle?
I actually expect them to wrestle in just normal gear or even clothing like that, like street clothes, until they solidify what their objective is. So, yeah, until further notice, I think that maybe jeans and no shirt.
Yeah, well, in tribute to the ECW legend Balls Mahoney, I feel like we have to call him Barnaballs Mahoney this week. And let's see.
Rest in peace, Balls.
Yes, rest in peace. Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, I think either one can work. Like I said, their role hasn't been truly defined yet. But, I mean, I'd be okay with the ring gear. So either one's fine, really.
Yeah, I think eventually they'll have to transition to ring gear. Like, the whole street clothes, outsiders thing is cool for a while, but eventually you are going to be a member of the roster. And yeah, I think you do have to eventually make that transition. Because we've got Dean Ambrose, right? We've already got the jeans and shirt.
Yeah, exactly. And Luke Harper, we know he's injured, but when he comes back, we got enough guys in the kind of street clothing.
Exactly.
Especially when they feuded against each other, it was like, we need some different gear out there.
Indeed. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from TMK Tanner, who asks, do you think that WrestleMania 32 was the end of the, quote, what Vince wants era? It seems everything after that has been a little more, quote, smarky.
What Vince wants, what Vince needs. No. Ryan, you go first.
Okay, all right. See, the thing is, WrestleMania is like a big mainstream thing. So the whole what Vince wants thing is always going to happen around WrestleMania season because it's the, hey, let's try to appeal to as many people who don't watch WWE as possible. And then after WrestleMania, Vince is kind of like, all right, guys, here's your show back again. Here's all the stuff you wanted to happen. So I feel like always after WrestleMania, it gets very, very smarky. And then they run out of ideas at the end of the summer and crap the bed for the whole fall and then build up for WrestleMania again. There's WWE the year for you guys.
The circle is but complete.
I got to agree with Ryan. I think it is pretty much like WrestleMania has to appeal to everybody. And now it's just, you have new guys. So by default, it seems like the smarky thing, or the thing that people on the internet, or the people that complain a lot, are getting what they want. But they have a big pool of new guys, and we had a lot of injuries last year. So at some point, this was going to happen. I'm not saying this is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying that it's part of the natural process that is wrestling. But I think that Ryan spoke perfectly when, after WrestleMania up until SummerSlam, you're gonna get this point where you feel like that, comfortable pair of underwear, but then after a while, it sort of changes
you
out.
Get a hole or
lose
two
it.
in it.
Better get some MeUndies.
Exactly. Oh my god, I am curious about that. As a matter of fact, actually, but
what about how the show goes, or Yundies?
If you're listening, MeUndies.
Yeah, I want to try those. Okay, so the question.
Get that hibbity-dibbity.
Hibbity-dibbity.
See, I always find this weird, because what do we mean by what Vince wants? Like, all this stuff is happening, but Roman Reigns is champion. People like the show. And I'm assuming he's making some form of money. What more does Vince really want?
And we don't even know what I think that anybody that says that they know what Vince wants, or what Vince is, or what Vince loves in the company, unless you're in there, we can just speculate about that. I think it's that as a company, they have an agenda, because they do the charity work. They do a lot of things that lead to, like, maybe you want to make this Roman Reigns guy the next John Cena, because for charity, that's great, because of all these things that you do outside of the ring, that's more beneficial for you. Maybe it doesn't work out, or like last year, half of your roster gets injured, so you got to go to plan B. Maybe plan B doesn't work, plan A comes to fruition again. It's happened a lot of times, and it'll probably keep happening.
Exactly. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from AROG 96897. What?
Gotta get the rag out. To get that out of my system.
Oh, I'm so happy I asked. But nonetheless, we have a question to answer. And they say, "Hey guys, been listening to you for the past 6 months, absolutely loving the podcast and the content. Keith is the best, just saying."
What?
I
agree.
You were going to read that.
My
Controversial
is,
opinion there.
Yeah, I know, but it's the right opinion. Thank you, sir. My question for next week's podcast, which is actually this week's podcast, is...
It's
now. The time is up. Your time is now. You can't see me. My time is now. Question: who has the better gimmick regardless of their booking? Tyler Breeze, Dalton Castle of Ring of Honor, or Elias Sampson? And follow-up question: if Dalton Castle were to come to WWE NXT with the same gimmick he has right now, would he get over with the fans? So Juan, I'm going to need your help on this one, because I admittedly don't know a lot about Dalton Castle.
I have zero grounds to answer this question.
Okay, so Dalton Castle is a Ring of Honor superstar. He had a couple of matches in what I believe was a TNA One Night Only pay-per-view. His character, it's flamboyant. He actually comes out dressed like a peacock. His boys are called the Boys. Like, he has 2 valets, I guess is the other thing you can say, that they're called the Boys. They're also a tag team. So
on a scale of 1 to Orlando Jordan in TNA, where does he fall?
I would say just below on the scale of Orlando Jordan-ness. He's the subject of a lot of controversy because Dalton's character is very flamboyant. He comes out with valets that he calls the Boys. And in Ring of Honor, it's a lot of wrestlers, right? Like, their character's not that over the top, but here comes this guy that he sits on top of his boys. I know that sounds weird, and if you haven't seen it, you're probably getting a weird mental picture, but that is literally what he does. Like, one of them will be down on all fours, and the other one will be doing, like, okay. I don't know how to explain this without it sounding wrong, but that is exactly what actually happens. But the guy is also incredibly powerful. He has this deadlift German suplex, which is pretty awesome. And anybody that's curious, especially after my terrible description, I do suggest that while Ryan and Keith are basically dying here, you go check out some footage. He's pretty awesome. Okay, now, Who has a better gimmick regardless of their booking? We are so immature. Tyler Breeze, Dalton Castle, or Elias Sampson? I would say Dalton by far, because Elias Sampson pretty much is failing hard, and Tyler Breeze, I mean,
well,
at this
gimmick, like Tyler Breeze as Zoolander kind of gimmick. You know what I mean? What has the most potential out of all of them?
Yeah,
don't look at it as, think about like more potential than how they're actually being portrayed right now.
Well, true, regardless of their booking. Okay, so realistically, I would still say Dalton Castle, because he's able to do a lot with his gimmick during the match. The moment Tyler Breeze starts wrestling, that's as far as it goes. Same thing with Elias Sampson. The boys play a big factor of the matches. He's crazy. Like it's so hard to explain Dalton Castle, because I can't think of another wrestler that's similar to him. There is no way WWE would have a gimmick like that in WWE without it being toned down. Yeah, as a matter of fact, when he was in TNA for 1 or 2 matches, instead of the boys, he had the girls coming out with him. So they actually went as far as to completely changing that. So they toned down his entrance a lot, and it just didn't work, because the whole thing is like, here's this crazy guy. Like, is he homosexual? Is he heterosexual? Is he metrosexual? You don't know, but he's amazing. And the boys have become this awesome thing. And then there's this factor with Silas Young and Ring of Honor that it's awesome. So by far, between these three, no questions asked, Dalton Castle.
Now, as somebody that doesn't know anything about him beyond your description, I will have to say Tyler Breeze by default, because I hate Elias Sampson and Elias Sampson's gimmick. I think the Drifter thing just doesn't work, and it's dumb, and it needs to change.
Yeah. It is a cool idea.
No, not even. It's one of those things that just don't work in wrestling at all.
Because like, isn't every wrestler a drifter almost?
Kind of. Like, oh, hey, instead of driving to the next town, you jumped on a boxcar. Woo!
And you're
I mean, I guess it really doesn't make sense, because it's like you're still just showing up to work. How much of a drifter are you?
Exactly.
And I know what you mean, Juan, where you're saying, like, in match, who could kind of live out a gimmick. You kind of make a good point when you think about Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze is a pretty boy model. Why would he ever get into wrestling? It kind of doesn't make any sense at all.
And early into his TNA, NXT, I'm getting everybody mixed up. When Tyler Breeze first showed up, if he got punched in the face in NXT, he would overreact like he was about to die. But that was a long time ago. But
even then, it's like, would that be something like a male model would even get himself involved with?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
That would totally mess up your modeling career. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Exactly.
Even if it is fun.
They should have learned from Rico, man. Should have learned from Rico. So thank you for the question. And our final question of the show comes from Cameron H., who asks, do you think the 9 count for a superstar out of the ring is being overused?
Well, I think what they're referring to specifically is like that they always wait until like 9 to get
back in the ring second. On a count out, yeah.
I don't think it's too overused. It's fine. It's never gotten to the point where it bothers me.
Yeah, same. It's a good question though, because it made me aware of the 9 count, and I asked myself like recently, but there's a match that happened at NXT TakeOver Dallas, the match with Austin Aries, as a matter of fact, where Austin, the guy pretty much got himself counted out. I mean, they only got that 9 count, but that was like 9.99 there.
The referee had to really stretch that one out.
Exactly. So at that point, whether it was a technicality or not, the fact that he was actually almost counted out made that match into something else. It got some people talking about just the count out part, which is nice. But I don't think it's being overused. I do think it would be nice if more things happened where people got counted out as a cheating or something. Although we kind of got that with Baron Corbin and Ziggler, actually, where they did get counted out recently. So I guess, I'm kind of okay with it.
I do feel like it's been used a lot lately, but I don't think it's been overused. So I'm fine with it. And I mean, it adds that little bit of suspense. I think it's easy suspense to generate, but it still adds it to a match. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add is that they probably need to emphasize the count more in more matches, because, and I'm not saying it always has to be a 9 count. Just do like a 3 count every once in a while. You know, what is that? Was that a stable in WCW? Anyway.
Yes, it was.
Get up on your feet.
But
Don't.
like you could do shorter counts, like have the ref like doing the count a little more obvious, because the thing is, when somebody gets counted out, it's usually pretty obvious that it's going to happen, because it's the only time they really bring attention to the referee counting somebody out. You know, it's either for 2 things, the 9 count, or it's for a count out. Otherwise, it's like for a 4 count, you never see the ref like really emphasizing the count. So that would be my only critique.
Yeah, so 9 count, not overused, but that being said, just a couple seconds, get up on your feet, put your hands together,
Nope.
sing along with
So
3
one.
count, party
Actually,
on
no,
forever.
you're done. You're done. Ryan, where can they reach us if they want to ask a question?
Well, if you
Backstreet
guys want to
Boys.
ask us a question, you can reach us in multiple ways. One of which is sending us a tweet using the hashtag AskBT, and you can tweet at us at ByteThatCast. If you want to send it long form, you can send it to us via email, which is ByteThatCast@gmail.com. So should I just go into the end here?
Do it. Just keep on
We good?
barreling, baby. Don't give them a chance to sing.
All right,
just
we're just
going.
going to keep going. So we want to thank you guys for tuning into another fantastic edition of the Byte That podcast. So before we go, just a few quick things. Head over to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. 5,000 plus subscribers strong. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. YouTube.com/ByteThatCast. This Thursday, the continuation of Fight Night. Things are getting crazy, man. Time travel's been happening, and finally Hans and Rex are
I
back.
swear in it.
One swears at it, so you gotta see it. Some good stuff, Maggle.
Profanity on Friday nights.
Yes, we also got plenty more content coming up soon, such as supercard videos, and we always have discussion videos as well, like our discussion video about Bray Wyatt turning babyface. We know that he got injured, so we don't really know. That situation's kind of in flux, but we talked about the potential of a face Bray Wyatt. And of course, you can check out our social media. I mentioned the Twitter at ByteThatCast. We got Facebook, facebook.com/ByteThatCast. ByteThatCast. And of course, you can check out our Instagram by searching Byte That. So thank you guys for listening, and we're gonna see you next week, Maggle.
Vertebreaker will break your spine.
And real talk, Tank Abbott was kind of awesome.
Oh my God. Can we...
Nope. We're done. Bye.
We gotta talk about 3 count.
No.
Fine. Later, gang.